Okay, so today we're going to. I quote Rabbi Mashash a lot, and I want this time to look at the teshuvah, one of his responses to a question that shows his ideology, his approach to leadership in general, but within the world of Torah in particular. So he writes to a certain person. I'm not going to mention the name. Interesting, because I know someone of the last same name that also has a very harsh approach, and he says the following: קראתי את מכתבו והנה הוא מלא רעיונות של פחדים וקריאה לייסורים חדשים לבקרים על מעשה בני האדם אשר לא טובים. He says, I read your letter and it's full of ideas of fear and threats and a call for yisurim. Means for harsh punishment for anyone who does something wrong. Hadashim labekarim is it's a wordplay. Hadashim labekarim means something new every morning, but he also uses the word boker as bikoret, criticism. He says it's full of criticism on maaseh bnei adam asher lo tovim. You find a lot of flaws in other people, and he says that path not only will not bring any benefit, not physical or spiritual, but it will bring a negative result. Not only you're not going to gain anything by speaking to people harshly and rebuking them, but you're going to achieve the opposite result. He says it will cause a person to feel physical stress, emotional stress, and confusion that could drive a person to mental instability, and that person would cause damage to himself and to others. So interesting, because we do see that within the Jewish world, it's not as evident, to come to physical violence, but we definitely see it within other religions. But even in our religion, we had a couple of months ago, remember this tragic case of the man who stabbed the girl at the parade, at the pride parade, right? Stabbed her to death. He killed her. And why is that? Because the leaders constantly talk. All they have to talk is about the behavior of other people, of rebuking the LGBT community, right? This harsh rhetoric, even though they say we only keep it, it's only words. We don't do anything, but eventually it pushes one person to kill. Nothing that could be worse than that. There was a case also in Germany in the 1900s that the rhetoric of the Orthodox community against the reform was so vituperative, so poisonous, that literally someone poisoned the food of the reform rabbi of a certain community, and he died. Yeah, so acts of murder, even if this is the extreme, but causing other damage, types of damage, we see that. And he says, ובכן הדרך הישרה והנכונה, כמו שאמר אדוננו המלך דוד בתהילותיו, אתהלך בתום לבבי בקרב ביתי. He says the right way is like David said in Tehillim, be a wholesome person and be straightforward with God and with your religion in your house. So you want to behave in an extreme level of piety, that's in your house. That's inside an individual way that doesn't affect anyone. But when you go out of your home to the world, he has to know and understand other people. It doesn't mean that he has to do what everyone else does, but to treat everyone with respect, with civility. לנהוג בהם מנהג דרך ארץ, להקדים להם שלום, לקבל את כולם בסבר פנים יפות. To greet everyone, to connect with people personally and smile at them. Because כמו שכתוב על רבי יוחנן בן זכאי, one of the greatest scholars of the time of the Mishnah, They asked him, what is your secret of longevity? But it doesn't matter that it works or doesn't work. But he said that what he thought was a special thing that he used to do, מעולם לא הקדימני אדם בשלום. I mean, I'm always the first one to greet others. Jews, non-Jews, even someone in the marketplace that I don't know, I would first greet him. And he says, "V'anochim shayu be'amav kulam hayu avdei elilim." It says when he speaks about non-Jews, we talk about pagans, people who worship idols. So you would say, according to the Torah, idolatry is the worst, one of the worst transgressions. He should not talk to them. He should not look at them. He says no, the opposite. He would greet them. Why? Mechok derech eretz shekadma laTorah. To be civilized, to be polite, comes before the Torah. And that's the foundation for the Torah. So what he says is this: if one is not civilized, doesn't know how to treat other people with good manners, he cannot have real Torah in him. It says, "V'kal v'chomer liYisrael yeh mi sheyeh dati or chiloni." He says that when you talk about a fellow Jew, that meaning that we are not because we discriminate against. He says you greet everyone, but fellow Jews, we are all part of the same history and legacy. So, of course, you have to greet them. You can't talk the way this person spoke. This is 1966, after Rabbi Messas came to Eretz Israel, way after 20 years after the establishment of the state of Israel. There were bitter fights in Israel until today between what people consider more religious, less religious. And he says, "Im ra'ita adam miYisrael oseh mitzvah, tismach bo meod meod." So it's the opposite. If you see a person performing even one thing, one mitzvah, should be extremely joyous. Because we have been for thousands of years in diaspora, in exile. And we were integrated and assimilated within the other nations. And we were involved with all that. We were involved in all type of work and professions. And we learned all their wisdom and knowledge and science. This is the Sephardic way. The Sephardic way was always to integrate with the culture and get to know as much as possible from it, and not to shut yourself in a physical or spiritual ghetto. It says, and we learn what they learn. Our children speak their language when in diaspora, and it says the only weapon or the only thing that we could arm ourselves with to sustain our the truth of the Torah and the Nevi'im and the prophets, hakol talui be'emunah. It says at the end of the day, it's all about faith. It's a very interesting concept because today there are seminaries and lectures, and people go around the world trying to prove that the Torah is from heaven, and the Torah and the truth of the Torah, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how many proofs you bring to people, and how logically you could argue science versus Torah, Torah versus whatever you want. At the end of the day, it all depends on faith, on a simple faith, on your belief and the way that you want. And it says, "V'emunah אין בה שום כוח להילחם בה למשוך על ידה שום אדם לדעת, רק למי שנולד ונתגדל על ברכת תורה ומצוות." And faith is something that usually comes from home, comes from the way the parents talk to the child and the education, all that. It says, but if someone was born into a family where people didn't have this strong faith, or even if he was born into a family of righteous and pious people, but grew up in a school when this was not incorporated, or they didn't teach it, and the school to be a Jewish or a non-Jewish school. I mean, there are Jewish and even ultra-religious, ultra-Orthodox schools where there's no faith. I mean, there's no emunah in the sense of something that is emotional and connects a person to spirituality. There are rigid laws. You do this, you do that, don't ask questions, but there's no emunah. And he says, but if you grow up like that, it's very difficult to inculcate the emunah in your heart, faith in your heart. So it says, if that person, with all that, does a mitzvah, we have to be extremely happy that this happens. And I think I mentioned also, I heard the same thing from my grandfather. He wouldn't even accept the labels that people put in Israel, religious and secular, Dati and Hironi. And he would say that there's no such thing, because everyone is Shomer Mitzvot. Every person, unless we're talking about a violent criminal, everyone observes some mitzvot. But people choose what to observe. So one person chooses to observe Shabbat and Kasher and all that, right? And maybe sometimes is not so keen on being, ethical in his business and so on. And another person who is, who keep business ethics, is civilized, respects his family and friends and employees and employers, and is a good, all these things. It says already he keeps 90% of the mitzvot. So we didn't put that layer. And he says, "ובכן מחויבים אנו מאוד ללמד זכות על ישראל בכל דבר ודבר." It says it is our obligation to always see the positive in everything and not criticize. It says ומי שאינו מלמד זכות עונשו חמור מאוד מאוד. It says the one who is not seeking to do that, this is the person who's going to be punished. So he writes back to this rabbi. He says, your letter was full of ideas of fire and brimstone on all those who don't. He says, maybe you are the one who is the recipient of all that fire and brimstone. He says, ורבי שמעון בן לקיש מילא חופניו חול ונתן בפניו של רבי אבהו על שדיבר דבר קטן על ישראל. He says, then, and this is in the Midrash. It says that Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, and Rabbi Avhu were walking, and they were getting near the city of Caesarea, right? It was named after the Roman emperor, Caesar, and Caesar. And there were many Jews there who lived, sort of assimilated with the Greeks and Romans. And Rabbi Avhu starts saying, "This is a terrible place. Everybody's assimilated." Resh Lakish bent down and picked some dirt from the ground and put it in his mouth. And the mouth of the other rabbi says, "What are you doing?" He says, "You should bite the dust." He says, "You talk like that about Jews and about people in Eretz Israel. Live there, you have to see the positive." And maybe we're so upset about that. And he says also, "V'agon Rabbi Shlomo ibn Danan." The Ibn Danan family. Rabbi Shlomo ibn Danan, one of the great rabbis in Fez, Nida Surva Merabanan. He put a rabbi in excommunication, like he put him in harem. What for? Al she'amar al Yehudei Tzarfat ra'im v'chataim. The rabbi said, French Jews, they're sinners, they're evil, they don't keep Torah mitzvot, whatever. So harem, nobody talks to you. You're outside the community. The other rabbi. And Rabbi Shlomo ibn Danan put him in harem. He says, "V'gam betoch beto." He says, now let's go back home. Because he said before, at home, you want to be pious, you can be pious. He says that I meant individually. If you're the only one at home, but if you have family members, Yizaher Adam, shelo yarbe aleim dikdukim ve'akpadot. Be careful not to be too harsh and always, controlling people around you, what to do, what not to do. כי בזה יהרוס שלום ביתו וימרר את חייו. ועיקר חיי האדם מהשמחה. Like I said this morning, it says by doing so, he's going to destroy his family and to destroy his life, because he's sucking the joy out of his life, and the main thing is joy. As he says, one of the psukim that speaks about exile says that we will go in exile because we did not serve Hashem with joy and happiness, meaning that we lost the sense of Parashat Kitavo. V'yesh ma la'arich harbeh. He says, I don't have time even to sleep or to eat, but I had to write this letter back. So I think we learn an important lesson on the type of leadership that he had. So even this is the general approach. So obviously, whenever he sees a problem that has to do with the observance of halakha, instead of rebuking people and telling them they're doing the wrong thing, he tries to find a solution to as much as possible to do within the framework of halakha to make the halakha livable and enjoyable. May these words be Le'alui Nishmat
David Yosef ben Eliyahu.
David Yosef ben Eliyahu.